A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the people who are there with us for this session, joining from across the globe. Firstly, a very warm welcome to one and all. Thank you very much for joining us for this fireside chat on Deviation nSpector. Let me take this opportunity to introduce to you our speakers for today, who are going to bring to the table the perspective of three critical functions together. Firstly, I'd like to introduce to you all Piyush Dungarwal, Associate VP BIM Services at nCircle Tech, who brings with him 12 plus years of experience and knowledge about technologies in the AEC industry. A strategic contributor, mentor, and problem solver, working closely with the clients over the years, who knows the industry pulse and pain points and has worked towards solving them through the right solutions. He has been instrumental in delivering more than 3 million square feet of scan to BIM projects. Welcome, Piyush. Next in today's speaker panel is Ajinkya Varade, Senior Software Developer nCircle Tech, a seasoned tech professional, a scholar, and gold medalist with experience in working with 3D BIM and point cloud. He is an in-house expert on working with advanced technologies and is a demonstrated problem solver with years of experience in problem breakdown and developing products for automating workflows. Once again, welcome Ajinkya. Last but definitely not the least, join me to welcome Saurabh Kulkarni, Manager BIM Services at nCircle Tech, a seasoned tech brain with a demonstrated history in project management and BIM tools with 500 plus projects executed, an in-house expert leading and supporting teams to create project information models using advanced digital technology by bringing together data, drawings, and schedules for clients across the globe. Now, I would request Piyush to take over the spot and take us through today's session. Over to you, Piyush.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Snigdha, for this warm introduction. It's great to be here and talk about the very important stage of the entire scan to BIM modeling process, and which is quality check. Now, before I go further, I would like to ask the audience, whoever is attending this session, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the name Deviation Inspector? And I would request you to just type your answers in the chat box so that I can read that. And I hope you reach to the closest definition of deviation checker. All right, I can see. I'm just still waiting for your answers in the chat box. What do you see? What comes to your mind when you hear the word deviation nSpector? Okay, Robert is saying QC. Yeah, I think that's well. Quality. All right, quality check. Okay. All right. So I think some of you are getting it really right. So this is about quality check, and it's about quality inspection. So today, through this fireside chat, we'll showcase what this tool is and how is it going to optimize up to 75% of your manual QC process working on scan to BIM projects. Let me take you to the agenda of the session today. So first of all, we'll be trying to identify what is the problem statement and what is the industry point of view. And then we'll make what was the journey, what is the need, the journey of Deviation nSpector tool, how the tool was developed. And later parts, Saurabh is going to walk us through the existing process versus the new process, which is going to save a lot of time. And then we have a bonus content here where Saurabh is going to talk about some Revit hacks, which is further going to enhance your visualization process. And lastly, we'll take on some of the questions which you might be having, and we'll try to answer all of them. So whatever questions you have, please feel free to post them down into the the comment section. I can still say, I think Fatima has written error measurement. That's a very correct definition. This is one of the feature which we are going to talk about here as well. Kunal has told about check bend. All right, so similar to that, I think you are guessing it right. We are very close to that. So before we dive into what is Deviation nSpector, I would like to begin with why we developed this in the first place. So I think the answer lies in the core belief system which we have at the nCircle, and which is we are the problem solvers and we are the automation first approach adopters. So nCircle has been developing, Revit plugin development for last 10 years. And ever since we have started our own managed BIM modeling services, we started to face those challenges which anyone who is working in the scan to BIM projects should be facing, right? Which I think you people who are working on scan to BIM projects, you might be facing the same problems which we faced. So going next, I think, as you all know, that scan to BIM is a fairly monotonous job. Like you see this guy working on the computer, modeler's life is none other than that. And when you are doing a fairly monotonous job, a modeler is bound to make some mistakes. So the category of inadvertent human errors are mistakes. And this is where a person thinks that they are doing the correct thing, but in reality, they are not. Right? This is not the deliberate mistakes. These are not the deliberate mistakes which they are making, but it's just a consequence of the monotonous work. And I think research has also proved that automated workflow helps an individual to focus more by relying on a tool for repetitive tasks. So leave the repetitive task to a tool and you'll be able to focus more. As the process is fairly monotonous, as a result, our QC team, our QC process was getting lengthier, and there was a lot of back and forth between the modeling team and the QC team. And also to solve this, we introduced multiple level of QC teams to make sure that the output which we are delivering to our client is 100% accurate. And that is where we were spending too much of our time and resources on QC process. So further to scale it up, I think in an ideal QC process, which I've been working with clients for the last 12 years, and I've been hearing it from them and observed while managing a team of 100 people as well, is that the QC effort should be within the range of 10% of your modeling effort. And however, what we have observed that in our QC process, it was taking us 25% of our modeling efforts in order to complete the project accurately. So this was resulting in overrunning the project timelines, and we were actually in trouble because of that. So this additional cost of QC was an in-house cost. So we identified that less the time we are going to invest on our QC process means better profitability for us. So the problem was identified immediately, and we went to our CEO, Varun, who always has an analytical approach to solve problems, and he is highly regarded for this in the market. So after several sessions with automation team and the modeling team, we decided to come up with this tool who is going to empower modelers and QC teams to check their work easily and which should be accepted by them. We wanted to make sure that there is no zone of resistance while adopting this new tool. There are several tools in the market for several purposes, but we wanted to make sure that this tool is going to be accepted by the modelers, and the whole idea of designing and the visualization was built around that. In the next slide, you'll see a lot of you might be thinking that why this is a deviation nSpector and not nSpector. So N stands to our brand identity, which means infinite possibilities. We work towards solving the critical problems, looking towards the infinite possibilities of the problems as well. And like any inspector, our tool is helping people in inspecting their errors. That's why it's Deviation nSpector. And now I would like to ask my colleague Ajinkya to join me and throw some light on the development aspect. Welcome, Ajinkya.
Hi, thanks, Piyush. And hello all. So before I start, I want to kickstart it with a question to Saurabh, actually. since he has been actively part of delivering multiple projects. We all know that QC is an important, but what if it is not managed properly? And also, Saurabh, do you think that process needs any improvement?
Sure, Ajinkya. Firstly, thank you all for participating on this webinar. So, Ajinkya, based on your question, right, the QC process, as we know, is very important. And, especially when we are talking about scan to BIM projects, where the project or where the need of the project is because someone needs to renovate or someone needs to redesign the existing things, right? But what if the modeler or anyone who is not able to correct the or replicate the correct entities, whatever is there in the actual field? That means we will have the wrong model to start with, right? Start point of my project or of my redesigning renovation is wrong if I'm not placing the things correctly. Many of the projects will have critical data like the MEP needs to be newly designed or structural need to be, redeveloped, redesigned. But what if the QC part is not there? What if the model elements are not there? Then all will fail, right? And to be very honest, precision and perfection are the, the qualities that any company need to have to build the client base, right? And I have seen many companies over the years losing billions of dollars because they were not able to deliver the consistent quality output to their customers. And I would like to ask the audience as well on this one, if they are facing any challenges on the same issue, you can hit in the chat box. Yes,
Sure, Saurabh. So now that you mentioned, right, Phil, that QC demands precision and a lot of efforts in getting to a stage of perfection, actually. So for starters, I can agree completely that QC is an excruciating process. So when we got into the development part, I would actually like to put it forward into by sharing an experience that I had. So I remember I was sitting with a friend in our BIM division who just got a review document on a model for a QC personnel. I was amazed to see that the reviewer had actually gone through the entire model part by part. Then he would go and navigate if there's an error, would document it into a picture and then to record it into a document, and which would be shared with the modeler for correction. That's like finding a needle in a haystack, right? And further, I was sitting there and I observed that he started correcting the model with reference to those images, and he would navigate it to the highlighted zone, and then he would start correction. He would check the measurements properly, and then after correcting that, he would check the surrounding area whether if anything else is disturbed or not. Too many clicks left and right. I was just sitting there observing that too many things were happening. And in some cases, the accuracy level that was demanded for was around 1 mm and 2 mm. That was like way too detailed. So with that being said, the question that kept lingering on my head was, how do you know if the model is complete? He was really working hard and he wanted to know if the model is complete or not. So the response to that was, once he corrects the model, it will be given back to the QC person, and he would check and give an approval whether the entire correction is done or not. But so the other day when we again met and I asked him that what happened, and then he is like, again, we received a QC report from QC personnel for more further corrections. So the QC report suggested that corrections, and again he had to go through entire model and check places where he needs to correct them properly. That suddenly actually reminded me of a movie starring Tom Cruise, which is Edge of Tomorrow. That it is a never-ending process for them. They are just reliving and redoing the same process over and over again. So all that being said, so when I started looking at the problem to solve, the first step that came to my mind was, how about we make it easier for modeler to go to that particular region so that he can start working on correcting the entire issue. And then with sticking to our motto of infinite possibilities, we decided to dive deeper into the problem statement. And we went into a solution where we would calculate deviation of the point cloud around the BIM elements and record them into a report format. Now, what happened with that is, let's say for an example, 7% of the model actually needed correction. So by doing this, our modeler actually knew that 7% correction is to be done, a finite value and a goal that he can actually work with. So you have worked on projects, right? So it with a report, it must have made things easier for you. So what do you have to say about that?
To be honest, Ajinkya, yes, in some sort, it was making the things easier. But the team is dynamic, right? There are multiple members going in and out, and whenever a new member joins the team, the reaction that came was like, oh, these are just too many numbers, isn't it? So actually, we were doing the task, but that task, as this image shows, task failed successfully.
So I think now you know that when you are trying to go into the depth of solving this problem, you have landed yourself into another problem to solve, right?
Yes, precisely. It seems that way. So when we went on to the next phase of the development, so before we go there, let me ask you all a question and also for the audience. What is that one thing that our human brain reacts to the most in a very stress-free manner? Any guesses, anyone? They can write in chats.
I think please numbers is what William says on the chat, and if okay, saying colors as well.
Interesting.
And I see it like viewing every problem in 2D is quite difficult, and visualization in 3D is very impactful. It's really easy. So I would say 3D is something which is Richard is saying visuals, right? Kunal is also saying visuals. So I think Ajinkya, you can take it on. I think we have a lot of answers about this.
Yeah. So I mean, you're correct up to a point. Visuals and colors. Yeah. So what we on further, what we actually planned on doing was we introduced colors. So it's just simple. See, it's simple as that. Whatever you can see and visualize into different colors. We as a human understand and respond to colors, and that too without a very stress-free with a stress-free manner. So if we can see on the screen, there is an image of our traffic lights, right? So have you ever wondered why this three color spectrum has been globally accepted as a proper lights as a traffic signal, right? And to add to that, an interesting fact about it is that when traffic lights were actually first introduced by railway systems in early 1830s, white color was chosen for a go ahead and green was a color for caution. But down the time, there were some changes made. And as of now, for us, by default, it is engraved in our brain that certain colors have certain significance. In this case, green denotes it's a good to go, whereas yellow denotes warning. And we all know what red means. It's always gets you have some have always have some correlation for it. For me, it basically takes me back to the school days when you get an assignment for your teacher and all the red marking. So it warns you basically.
Yeah, I think
And
in the as-built capture process also red line markups has an important role. So whenever people are seeing more red line markups in an as-built document, they have a lot of work to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
And since FIFA is going on, I mean, even if you don't have any very sound knowledge of FIFA, what means, but seeing those images, you can see red means something error or something. There's an issue, and yellow means it's a warning, right? So that means if we consider an analogy of color and bring that into our BIM. So consider that if a point cloud is highlighted in variable colors and the concerning regions are highlighted, let's say for in this case red. So the QC person would have to do is go and navigate to that region and then focus on that particular region for finding whether there's an error or not, right? There is no more running through the entire model and stretching those googly eyes at screen for hours. So, and no point in dissecting the entire model inch by inch so as to do a QC. I feel it's fairly simple. What do you say?
Yeah, I think you're right, Ajinkya. This is fairly simple way of defining the elements and defining the entire data. I think let's reach. Robert is also want to know, and Saurabh, I would quickly come to you. Then I would further like to ask you to help us in understand how was the manual process, and what is the adopted new automated process at your end? So from the BIM standpoint of view, if you can take us through that, that would be great.
Yeah, sure, Piyush. So as you can see, right, this is only a small portion of the model that we have taken. And what the process that we were following before the deviation inspector was to take a section to each and every interval, depending on the project complexity. So it may vary, if the model size is lower, if the content is not there, not much of the content. So we may be having lesser number of sections. But what if the content is more, the area is small and the content is more? Then again, we need to add, those sections to check each and every part of the model to see if we have, any errors in the model or if something is missing in that model. Another process that that is going around in the industry is we need to load the model, the point cloud data and the Revit model inside the Navisworks, chop it down to small pieces, and then go to each and every piece and find out the errors in that and save it as viewpoint. Then that will go to the modeler, and then again it will be fixed by that. So these are few manual approaches that generally is been followed for Cantonment.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think to understand what was the earlier process look like. Can you tell our audience that what are the main challenges or issues which you are facing with this process?
Yeah. So as the name suggests, that is a manual process, right? And whenever we have some manual process, that solely depends on the person's diligence. And whenever a person is not good at his task, all things can go south very easy. So that's why we needed a tool which will help us bridge that gap and have us ease of doing the QC as a final check.
Yeah, I think this reminds me that whoever is the best person in the modeling team, we try to put him into the next level of QC team, because that's where these people are coming from, right? So I think thank you, Saurabh, for describing this entire manual process. And before we move ahead, I think I would like to ask the audience that if you have the similar type of process, just type yes. If you have something different out of the box, please share it with us. And if you see that any critical thing is there in your process, please feel free to type in the chat box, and we would happy to take it forward. Saurabh, why don't you show us the quick fix tool of this tiresome yet critical process, how you are now doing it with your internal team?
Sure, Piyush. So just before demonstrating, I would like to, take all of you to one picture and ask everyone, like, if you can identify some modeling errors inside this.
All I can see is a cross-sectional view and modeling versus scan data, but it's a little hard.
Okay, now going on to the next one. Now, can you identify or can you visualize something?
Yeah, I think as Ajinkya said, green all looks good to me. And if I talk about red, it is something similar to what red line markups and red line, things which Ajinkya used to get in his notebook. So red seems to be like something is off there.
Exactly. So the first image is the raw point cloud data with our model, and the second image is the point cloud data, coming out of Deviation inspector with our model. So here we can see easily the red line means something we need to check at our end. So going on with the video. So here you can see the point cloud data is loaded inside Revit. Now we will be having 3 colored point cloud data. One is red, one is green, and one is yellow. Okay. So now here what we are just doing is to cut a section or to have a small portion of the model to visualize. Why small portion? Because we can spot the errors easily when we are having a small portion to review, right? Whenever we are having some work, we will chop it down to small pieces to get it done in a correct way. Here, now you can see we are just splitting the screen in two. We are adjusting the section, adjusting the model such a way that we will go through and we will swipe through the model entirely, but with small portion only. So as you can see on the left one, we have cut it, we have the small portion of section, and on the right one, we have adjusted the model accordingly, right? Now, what we'll be doing next is we will just go up with this section, and on the right, it will show up at different elevation how things are looking like. Here, you may also see many of the red elements or the red point cloud data, right? But it does not mean that these are out of scope, these are not model. I will show you how it is. So here, what I'm doing is I've changed the color or changed the transparency of the wall. Now here, the wall is tilted. That's why we are getting the red, yellow, and green point cloud colored data throughout the wall. It is because the one portion of the wall is within the tolerance limit. The other portion is the cautious limit that we have set. And the next portion is completely out of the tolerance limit that we have. And now, by navigating through the section, we can see at each interval how the things are looking like. And like I said, all the things which are in red does not mean that they are wrong. Maybe it may be out of scope and we did not have to model those. That's why it was left as it is, right? So this gives us clear picture of, okay, if the things are in line with our expectation or the things are out of scope or out of the tolerance limit. And we can go through it very easily. Here you can see some of the panels, right, which is partially out of the deviation limit. Again, here what we can see, and I think Piyush, you can easily identify, right? If I'm going through it up and down, you can easily identify the errors inside it. I mean, anyone can do that. So how it is helping me is I can quickly go through this and see before it reaches to the client. I can see if my model is getting, or if my model is right or wrong, or if something that needs to be fixed before it reaches to the client, because we don't want client to come back to us with many of the QC issues or many of the elements that are missing, to come back and ask us to redo those things. That is never ending chain. That's why we wanted something, and we have something now which is helping us to reduce our efforts inside the QC process. Now here what we are doing is, now we have cut the section horizontally, now we have cut the section vertically, and we again are doing the same process. So on both sides, we are just swapping through the model entirely, just to make sure that no elements or nothing has been loose from our end. Now here, in couple of seconds, you will see two ducts, which is undersize and oversize. And those are the same ducts which have been shown in those images as well, right? So now you can quickly identify, okay, these ducts were not modeled correctly, which was really hard with those images, right? What you saw firstly. So that's how it is helping, and that's how we are improving in our QC process with the help of Deviation nSpector.
Yeah, I think I need to buzz it again here. The Revit hack tool, which we had asked about the bonus content, which is sort of has just shown it to you. You can easily split your screen, and if you are somebody who wants to closely monitor the last QC process before you hand it over to your clients, you can just utilize this trick and quickly check your model in within a minute and send it across to clients if you are satisfied with that. So that's something which I wanted to also emphasize here. All right, so Ajinkya, over to you.
Yeah, sure, Piyush. So over to the next slide. Now that actually Saurabh actually told us how we are making use of the results from the entire Deviation nSpector tool, I would quickly like to demonstrate to you that how we can generate those results. So what we have made is an end-to-end solution within Revit. We have created a plugin which would basically accept three things: limits, that is, first limit would say the acceptance zone, and a color that would be assigned to those point clouds. Second would be the warning zone and the color, let's say for in this case yellow. And the third is the non-acceptable zone that we can denote with a red color. Next, what you have to do is select a location where the processing and the metadata will be happening, and the resulting point cloud files, as in RCPs, would be stored. Once you do that, you trigger the process. Now, what we exactly are doing here is we are processing the entire point cloud, taking into consideration. If, let's say, for some reason, if a modeler actually forgets to create an element at certain position, right? At that time, what happens that even though you are doing a QC with respect to an element and points around it, those points would never be highlighted because that element was never created. So for that very reason, we are actually going through the entire point cloud, and by doing so, we are able to generate results resulting into separate RCPs. So your entire point cloud will be divided into 3-color spectrum. So as you see, it's fairly simple. It's just a click of a button. You provide the input values that you actually require. And once you do so, it will be automatically loaded back into Revit. And if I can just increase, do the transparency of the model, you can see all the point clouds, green, red, blue, green, red, yellow are attached into your document. And as well as you have the control over into your visualization section, which you want to keep on and off. All those point clouds will be loaded as just a normal what a modeler usually handles. Simple RCP and attach point cloud links.
All right. I think thank you, Saurabh and Ajinkya, for this explanation. We already have a few of the questions, but I would like to emphasize 2 points where this tool is going to help. Is first is this is easy to install tool within the Revit environment, so you don't need to go and take the files outside of Revit environment and do something very different. Second is with this color coded identification method, if you are somebody who want to deliver to the client and just want to have a sneaky look around before delivering it to the client, it's just a simple process to execute and you will be able to do it yourself. And the third thing is it is super easy to identify the missing elements, and it is working in all the aspects, architectural, structural, and MPF elements. So yeah, I think with that, I think this is what about the tool is. We would definitely would like to answer if you have any questions around. We still have 10-15 minutes to answer all of your queries. And special announcement for today is that we are giving a 15 days free trial of this tool to all of the attendees. You'll get an email. You just have to simply download and use this plugin in within the Revit, and it's super easy. Just try it out and let us know if you face any problem. Our product team is reachable, and you can you can give us your feedback about the questions. Okay, let me take a couple of questions here, guys, which is Paul is asking that how much time would it take to generate results back in Revit? Ajinkya, would you like to take this question?
Yes, Piyush, I would like to answer this. So, Paul, if you say for an end-to-end solution and getting results back in Revit, what I would say is point clouds differ in sizes and density, right? It's not fixed. Even a small bungalow could have a lot of size considering its point density. But for this process, it solely depends on the computational capacity of the system that you are actually running this on. So I would also like to ask Saurabh to contribute since he's been using this end to end. So Saurabh, what is your thought on this?
As you rightly said, Ajinkya, the computational power of the system is needed. But if we just have to take an example, right, a 1,500 square feet area, similar to that will be done in 15 to 20 minutes max.
Okay.
All right. I think so that answers your question, Paul. The next question is from William, and he's asking about which all versions of Revit do this plugin support?
Yeah, William. So currently we have ready installers for version supporting of Revit from 2020 onwards till 2023. So up to the latest version as well.
All right. Guys, if you have any other questions, please keep them posted. I'm just trying to read a couple of more questions here. Can we import IFC into Revit and run this plugin? Will it show the results?
I will take this up, Piyush.
Sure.
So, William, currently this plugin is for Revit only. So whatever we will model inside Revit, that will be captured in this process and not the IFCs or the DWGs importing inside Revit.
Yeah, so this is everything. As I said, we have built everything within the Revit environment. So this plugin is working within the range of Revit tool itself only. Okay, I am still seeing somebody is typing in, so we'll wait for a couple of questions. I would like to ask if you have any other questions, please please post them all. And if you have further queries, you can can you show our contact address so that they can reach to us if they have any queries, and we can be handy to help it out. So Eric is asking that will it process non-structured point cloud data as well?
To answer that,
yeah.
Saurabh, you can help me out with this one. If you're saying non-structured as in non-stitched point cloud, I would say if the point cloud is loaded in your Revit document and it is against a BIM element that is currently drafted out in your Revit, the point cloud will be used for the actual processing and finding the deviation along with those entire model elements.
Yes, I think Ajinkya, you are correct. So even if it is not stitched, if it is loaded inside Revit, it can be run. But the results may vary on that one.
All right. I think, Eric, what I would encourage is that once you get this tool, download this and try it. And if you face any problem, just get back to us so that Ajinkya and the product development team can look around if you are facing any problem in processing that data. And Nigel has a question, and this is how about how accurate is the result from the Matterport to point cloud? Okay, that's a good question. So Matterport guys, I think this is the tool. Let me take this answer and correct me if I'm not if I'm going wrong, Saurabh. That any point cloud data, be it from Faro, Leica, any kind of scanning devices, what we all what we need is a point cloud data, and it is fairly accurately identifying the deviation from the Matterport point cloud as well. The only difference which you will feel is that if the scanning device itself is not creating a good quality of point cloud data, the result which we will be developing modeling will be in larger tolerance limit. In case of Matterport, where we are scanning more of the residential and commercial apartments and places like that, the tolerance limit with that is generally provided by on a higher note. So I think that's perfectly working fine with. We have tried it on a couple of Matterport scan file, and that's working really fine. So Nikhil, once you get this tool, please try it yourself and let us know whatever results you are getting from the Matterport as well. I think let's take the next question, which is from Richard. And are there any dependent prerequisites required to be installed on the system before installing the plugin?
Yeah, let me take that, Piyush. Sure. So all you need is a Revit and the installation file. So that is good to go.
All right. Yeah, that's fairly easy. The next question is by Amelia, is that how long has the nCircle team been using this? That's a nice question. How long we have been using this internally? I think Saurabh, you should be able to answer this, right?
Yep. So we are using it like for around 4 months now. We have been tested on multiple point cloud data, multiple models that we have. So yeah around 4 months.
And I would like to tell you, the first version which we made was not that easy. It was a little bit complex. There were a lot of processes involved in between. But I think over these 4 months of testing time, where modeling team provided a lot of feedback to the automation team, we came up with a better version, which is fairly more easier to use. And Ajinkya, if you can talk about what next we are going to bring in this development part of this project, that would be great, I think.
Okay, Piyush. So what we are aiming for in this entire development is how easier we can make it for the user to have an interface with the entire application. So the next major updates you can see is few options to, if you want to specifically choose any particular point cloud link, or let's say if you have your point cloud in sections, for say, you have fragments of point clouds attached in multiple links. You can select one of the link of point cloud, and that area surrounding it would be considered for the deviation. going forth, working with point cloud can be a computationally heavy thing that is happening. So we are looking forward to do some optimization so that we can make it more faster. Times of the essence when you're doing QC as well. So yeah, we are looking for some optimizations and some new implementations which would help out in the future.
All right. Yeah, that sounds interesting. I think that's it for today. I think we are far ahead of the time, and we are well on our all. We have covered all of the aspects of the topics. Please write us back if you have any query. We'll be happy to answer that. We can be easily find our LinkedIn or email IDs, and you can just send us an email, and somebody from our team will reach out back to you and sort out the things. So thank you all of you for joining us on this session. And on behalf of entire team, Ajinkya, Saurabh, Snigdha, we would like to thank you for joining on this session. And on behalf of entire nCircle family, we are sending across warm wishes for this festive season. Hope you have a great time and a great year ahead, and looking forward to connecting with you in new year and solve more problems across with you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Look forward to connect with you again.